I used to always say that I like when negative things happen to me. It sounds crazy, but I like getting screwed over. I like, losing. Those downs, those kicks, those when you're down, you have to get back up. And when you get back up is you grow, you change your mindset, you become stronger, you become smarter, you become more confident in yourself. I never thought I would live to an old age. I never thought I would live past 40 or 50. I joked that I never lived past 35. So it's amazing in your early 30s that you can create and change your lifestyle completely. We go through this life of chasing what we think is that life that we want, right? That 9 to 5, that car, the house, the cookie cutter lifestyle. We think that's what we want, but when you finally find that thing that you're supposed to do, that thing that you're good at, it's amazing. It's so rewarding. It really makes everything worth it. I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know this is why I'm doing this, and it keeps pushing me more and driving me more to keep growing and to just pass on this positivity, pass on these smiles and this, the reactions that I get from people. Just, it's amazing. It's kind of leaving the world, leaving this room, leaving the people I connect with better than they came, better than they were, right?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tool for Rise podcast, where we document the rise and stardom of Winnipeg talent and personalities, aka the #1 podcast in Winnipeg. Our guest today is on a mission of spreading love and positivity with his art. He's a multidisciplinary artist whose work has resonated with many across the world. Please welcome Pedro Ruiz. Woo! Man, first of all, thank you for coming on and making the time to come on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
How's everything? I know you just made a piece with Steve Aoki.
Yes.
So how's that? How does that feel, man?
Honestly, very rewarding, very cool, it's something I've always wanted to kind of start doing a little bit, is more of getting getting in the hands of some more bigger people, right? And I've always been a fan of Steve, and he's come to Winnipeg a few times. I've been to all his shows. Right. So, and the reasoning behind the piece was really cool because it's of his father. I made a piece of his father, which was his hero, which was also my father was my hero. So, it's pretty cool to it resonated really well with me, and I knew I wanted to do this piece for him. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I'm sure, this to get to work with Steve Aoki took years and years and years of work. So let's dive into your journey, man. Where do we even start? Take me back to, I don't know, high school, or where did this journey of exploring art start for you?
Okay, so I think I'll go way back, and I'll bring it back to a more recent.
Yeah.
If you go way back, I've always been into art. I've always loved art, and in art class in grade 7, grade 5, all that kind of stuff. I've always done these little projects and stuff, but I was never a big artist. I never imagined myself being an artist or kind of growing in that way. But it's, I've always loved doing it. You fast forward to 5, 8, 10 years ago, as we grow up, as we're raised, I always refer to the cookie cutter lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're raised to go to school, get a good job, get married, have kids, like the typical cookie cutter lifestyle, I call it. And so, what happens is as a flying here, what happens as an adult is you kind of follow that plan, that road that you're supposed to follow, right? And so you get a job, you get a career, you kind of work your way up, and you get distracted. You kind of lose sight of what truly makes you happy. You're chasing that paycheck. You're chasing that the job, the car, the house, whatever it is, right? So what happened was about 7 years ago, my father passed away, and that's what kind of changed everything for me. But let's rewind a little bit more. I was working at, I had my career job that was my cookie cutter lifestyle. I was working at BMW. I was an operations manager there for about 6 years. I was there for, and I thought I had it made. I thought I was going to work my way up the chain, get paid more, get better positions, just kind of work up and be set for life type of thing. And but then your vision changes a little bit, and then, like I said, my father passed away, so I started in honor of him. It was really hard for me and my family. But in honor of him, I started a little bit of a clothing brand
Right.
called Ray Clothing, because our last name is Reese.
Yeah.
So if you take off the S,
Yes,
it means Ray, which is king.
King. Yeah.
And so I started this with his signature, started this brand, started making clothes, T-shirts, hats, things like that. And it kind of blew up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, my family loved it. My friends and everybody wanted a piece type of thing, wanted a hat or a shirt or something in honor of him, because he was really popular and really loved, and he was really positive. So everyone really loved my dad. And so I did that for a while. I had a meal prep company as well. And I was kind of juggling my life at the time. I had my career job, I had my meal prep company, and I had my clothing line that I was kind of juggling. And so I had to kind of make a decision of what to do, whether I was going to chase these two little side things that I really love doing, or work this 9 to 5 that had it set. I had all the perks. I had all this, but it was a tough decision, but I jumped, right? I had to make the decision to jump, and it was tough, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
So from there, I kind of transitioned, the artwork kind of landed in my lap, I guess, if you want to say that, where I started, splattering some jackets, painting some jackets, doing some stuff like that. And that's when I started really doing some artwork. And then actually, it's funny, Stephen Hua actually reached out to me when he opened up Prohibition.
Yeah.
And he reached out, he asked me if I could do about 10 to 15 pieces for the lounge, for the bar. And I was a little nervous at first, not knowing if I should do it or because I've never, at the time I was doing these really small pieces, doing jackets, and he kind of had faith in me, and I said, you know what, no, let's do it. I can do this. So that's kind of like that leap, that jump of, when you're scared to jump, but you should, and you have to. So I did that, and it's the best thing I ever did. So I thank Stephen Hua always for this.
Yeah, Stephen's great.
He's awesome. Yeah. So he's a big part of my transition into art.
Yeah.
He helped me. He kind of opened the door, a little bit of a door for me, right? So yeah, I did a bunch of murals, a bunch of pieces for Prohibition, and then I decided that, let's do an art show.
Yeah.
I've been an artist, quote unquote, for a few months only at the time. And I said, you know what, let's do a big art show, and let's kind of make a bunch of pieces, and let's go, right? Let's do this. So yeah, and that's kind of how it started. I did a big art show, got my name out there a little bit, and I just continued growing from there.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say that. Like Robin and I, like we always talk about this. It's like chasing rabbits. So when we're like so busy, it's like we have school to worry about, we have the podcast to worry about, and then he's got other stuff like student organization. So it's great. It's funny how you mentioned, like, when did you realize, like, okay, I can't work BMW anymore, right? Like it's not making me happy, and I have these two side hustles that I'm doing. Like, where was that switch?
That's a good question. So it happened actually a few times. The urge, the want, the curiosity of whether I should or not. I mean, juggling the three was great in a sense where, I got paid for my job. I had a good job. Right. I was doing these two little side hustles, I guess, if you want to call it. One I was very passionate about, obviously, because of my dad and just the reasoning behind it, and the reason, a lot of people supported and loved that. The other one was a little bit of a hustle, or just a meal prep company. It was great. So I'm juggling these, and life's great, but then you realize that there's so much potential in these side hustles or these passions of yours.
Right.
And that's what it started really, pulling me a little bit towards it, was, knowing that I could do more with it. If I'm just giving this 20%, giving that 20%, and giving this one 60%, now I'm, I know I'm not giving it 100%, right? So, but then I'm only giving this 60% at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, because, you got to decide what's going to make you happy, what's the right way to do it. And so I guess it was about a year before I left the car industry. I thought about it a lot. I put a bid down on a building. I was going to open up a shop. I was going to open up, and from there is where I really started thinking about a year before, and it just didn't happen. Right, you kind of got back into the safety mode, right? Into the safe zone. And yeah, so I didn't do it. A year later is when I really decided that, okay, the clothing line, people are really liking it. I loved it, and I was really passionate about wanting to do my own thing.
Right.
So I decided to jump, to do it, to kind of take that leap. And yeah, it was at first there was a lot of doubt. I wasn't sure if I made the right decision.
Right.
And at the beginning it was a bumpy road. It wasn't easy. I wasn't making as much money as I was at the dealership, right? I wasn't, but some months were really good and some months were really bad. And so that was kind of that rocky road at the beginning. But I think once the arts kind of fell in my lap, and I started doing that, that's when I realized, like, I love doing this. Right. This is what I really love doing it. And I'm going to really chase this and really follow this and pursue this. And that's what I kept doing, is just, yeah.
And then there was a mission behind it, right? Like, there was a bigger picture as to why you were chasing it. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like I said, with my father, he's always been a super positive role model to all of us, to my friends, to my cousins, to my family, to everybody. He was just that funny, positive, happy, always talking. People are always talking to him, asking. He's always telling stories, and so he had this really strong energy. And I think once I started to kind of connect with that, and I started to really, put his name on it, and I really wanted to make him proud. I really wanted to pursue this and really grow this. So it's kind of funny, on the back of these shirts, I had his signature, like his actual signature on the back of these shirts. I still see people wear these to this day. I don't make those anymore, but I used to make those. And so just seeing my dad's signature on these shirts, seeing the logo, and because now I took his signature and I turned it into a logo. So seeing this logo on these shirts, on these hats that people still wear, I still sell these hats. On my artwork, all my artwork has this logo as well. And so seeing that is just, it's so rewarding. It's so cool to see his name on everything, to see his signature on everything, right? Yeah. So I know how proud he would be of me, how proud he is of me. And yeah, honestly, that's the biggest drive behind it, is just spreading that love and that passion that he had. And that's funny that I said, we talked about this a little previously and about to spread love, and I don't want to jump around here a little bit, but yeah, some of my sayings was spread love, too rare to die.
Yeah.
And well, death was the other one. I don't know if you could swear on here.
Yeah, no, but be yourself, man.
Okay. So I had these 3 things that I was always putting on shirts and clothes and hashtags, and I was always really pushing that. And it was really, spread love was one of the biggest ones. I showed you, I made these pins, saying spread love. I got it designed, made these cool pins. And for me, this is all about love. It's all about your roots, and really spreading positivity, spreading that love, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like kind of carrying on his legacy, you can almost
100%.
say. Yeah. So like, at what point, every entrepreneur faces struggles, and like along this journey, you have that motivation, and like often, like even us, we're like, okay, why did we start this, right? And always come back to that mission of like, spread love. So like, what did that message like mean to you, right? It's, for us, everyone has a reason why they say spread love. But I'm curious to see, like, what was your take on that?
So I think one of the things that is really tough, obviously, for everybody when someone passes away, someone close to them really passes away, it's really hard on them. Obviously, it's one of the most tragic moments in all of our lives. And so you're almost you're very vulnerable at that time. You're very, not weak, but you're very sad. You're very vulnerable. And the love that people give you, that support, that is so important. And it's when you really feel it, you really see it, you really notice it around you, is when you're in that low, vulnerable position. That's when you see everyone else's love, really there for you. And it's so meaningful. It's so important. It means so much to me, to us, of course, when this happens. So I think as I started to grow and evolve and kind of work with this pain and this sadness and turn it into positivity and turn it into love, more love, I think that's what kind of helped me it made me really want to spread love more. Really wanted me to kind of, I said something back when this happened, is like, I was extra nice to everybody. I don't know why I held doors open more for people. Not that I did, but you'd hold open doors for people. You would just that extra. I saw myself change without trying to or wanting to change. Almost just I started being so much nicer, and spreading love more without even trying to. And then as I realized what I was doing, I knew that there was this big connection with my dad and just kind of it just passed on to me, right? And it's me wanting to keep that love that he had, because that's the way he was, right? So I didn't say I want to be like him, I'm going to do this. I just did it. And as I realized that, I started, as I realized that and saw that and started connecting to kind of why I did that, it's kind of weird. Things happen without you even realizing or knowing or trying to or wanting to do anything. It just happens. It just falls in your lap. So it's pretty cool. So that was a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, spreading love is like even like holding the door for someone, and it can change their whole day.
I know. So that's something small, like I said.
Yeah.
But it's those little things that I did, not by accident, but without realizing, and that I started repeating to my friends and families, things like that. Is like, those little things you start doing become so important, right? You just want to do more of that. You just want to help people. You want to spread that love, right?
Yeah, 100%. Let's transition into your entrepreneurial journey. Like, I think everyone here is curious, man. Like, you have this beautiful studio. How did this come about? Like, Steven got you into probation, right? What happened after that?
So, thankfully for him, he like I said, I thank him a lot. He gave me that. He opened the door for me,
right?
With prohibition. That helped a lot. I'm not saying I couldn't have done what I'm doing or I wouldn't have been here without him, but maybe not. Honestly, that's why I thank him so much, because it's those little doors that open that help you, right? And would I have found a different way to do it? Possibly, of course, but I'm that kind of guy that will always find a way. But these routes change, these paths change, and everything's different, right? So the way it happened was amazing. That's why like I said, I thank him so much. And so from there, I just kept going. Of course, I did a show. People knew about me. People didn't know I was an artist. I didn't know I was an artist at the same time. That's kind of the funny thing, is I kind of just really, it just exploded. I just said, no, I love this. I was so passionate about doing this that I knew that this was it. This is my life. Will I do other things throughout life? Probably. But will I always do art? Will I always be creative? 100%. I will always. I will never stop doing this. So from there, I just kept going. I knew I had to keep going. I knew I had to grow this. And again, another bumpy road, right? So you hit this another checkpoint, this another level. I like to call it level. So you hit this another level, and you kind of get stuck. It's a challenge. There's levels. You don't just jump levels. You gotta work. You gotta work through each level. You gotta pass the level. So I kind of started making more pieces for people. Of course, started advertising, marketing, showing everything, and started, and things went well. But again, it's a bumpy road. There's ups and downs, right? So you're kind of, 1 month might be great. You have all these pieces you sold, all these pieces you made. And 1 month you might be slower and not have a lot. So again, there was this bumpy roads where you kind of had to kind of work to grow, work to evolve, work to kind of get out and change what you're doing to grow more. So I mean, that's from there. I kept growing. I kept evolving. I really wanted to I always try to change the way I do things. I always want to do things that are different that other people aren't doing, right? So if I see other people start to do, or if I start to see other people doing similar things that I'm doing, I need to change my, I will continue to do these things, these styles of pieces that I make, but I will find a new way or find a new style, or I'm always trying to evolve. I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to add pieces to the puzzle. And so that's kind of my thing.
Is that more of like a market competition kind of thing, or is just you trying to always like become the better version of yourself in terms of your artist career?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say both.
Right.
I definitely am always trying to grow and compete with myself.
Right.
I'm always trying to do things different, add more parts to this moving piece, right? 3D pieces, lights, broken glass, pieces sticking out the sides, deeper pieces, moving parts, you know, murals that are movable that you can. So always trying to change, but then of course out there's going to be some competition as well, in a sense, and that's healthy. Right? You want that healthy competition where there's other people doing things that you might be doing already, or there's other people that are really big and growing as well, and that kind of drives you to do more as well, right?
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned like this road of like entrepreneur is always the roller coaster and, you know, always going up and down. And we talk about the rule of thirds a lot, where like 1/3 of the time it's the best moment of your life. And then 2/3 of the time it's like, man, okay, it's okay. And then that other time it's like, man, I hate this. Right. And were there ever moments for you like that? It's like, you know, you had to like push yourself extra, or like you had to make yourself take that extra step to finish that art piece?
Definitely. I've talked as well in the past, and recently as well, about the obstacles and the ruts that I get into.
Right.
So, and the ruts. And speaking of the what you just said earlier, so I like to refer to as 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You're always going forward, but you're going to go backwards. So if you change up the angle, it's I use ruts a lot. So I fall into these ruts. I joke that like I'm in a ditch. I'm just like, I got to crawl out of this ditch, right?
Yeah.
That's extreme, but but you feel really low, right? And so I'm an extremist. I'm full of energy. I'm super high energy. I bounce off walls. I'm like super loud typically.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of being a creative as well, for me anyways. All that energy, all those thoughts helps me create, helps me be, you know, evolve and keep thinking of new things. But it also, when I'm not feeling the greatest, I'm also pretty low.
Yeah.
So when I'm high, I'm high. When I'm low, I'm low. And yeah, those are the kind of, you know, being in those ruts is really tough to get out of, right? Some days I'm not motivated. I'm not driven. I'm not, you know, and I don't do anything. Some days I try to get into the garage, try to go to the shop, try to do some work. Nothing. I just am not feeling it today. So I'll carry on with my day and do some other stuff, try to come back, go to the laptop, try to do some design work. You know, some days I don't do anything. But I think it's part of the process where you have to you know, accept these ups and downs that you're going to go through and just work with them. Understand, acknowledge that you're going through these things, going through these lows, and know that you're going to get out of them. You know, watch yourself, listen to yourself, see how you act, see how you react to everything, and work with that. And then next time you're in this rut again, just kind of work your way out of it.
Yeah, and you know, like it's oftentimes there's this, like the grind is so like idolized, where it's like, man, no matter what you're feeling, you got to go 100% in everything. What do you have to say to that? Is it always about the grind? Like, man, like even if you're not feeling the best, like your body tells you no. Is it just faking it, or do you have to listen to yourself and then put your mental health before the grind?
So I think we all hear that you got to keep grinding, no matter how, you know, you keep grinding, keep pushing past that. I agree. At the same time, you are going to feel low. You are going to, you know, some days off is good. I don't agree with always, you know, everyone's different. So I think if you can handle it, pushing through it and continuing to push is amazing. And some days I think, you know, if you're not feeling it and you really need that day off, or you need the week off, or you take it, you know. You got to listen to yourself, feel yourself. You got to really listen to yourself, like you're deep down inside, how you feel, how you're reacting to the situations around you, and kind of grow from there.
What were some of the like moments that, you know, I like to see the struggle and like understand how people have like overcome some of the struggles. Are there any moments that particularly like stand out for you where you're like, man, like maybe I can't do this artist thing and I should go back to BMW? You know, it's steady. Everyone likes that security. So
go on, sorry.
Yeah. Like, what were there any moments where you thought about that?
Definitely. So at the beginning, especially, and that's when I definitely doubted myself a little bit. I always, you know, I doubt myself throughout this process a lot as well. But at the beginning, I questioned whether I should have done that. You know, I felt some regret in a sense of, did I make the right decision? I had a high-paying salary job, perks, benefits, everything, all that good stuff, and I jumped out to do my own thing, which got none of that. Right, I mean, I had some pay,
right,
but it was it was an ups and downs, right? Some months were decent, some months weren't very good. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of doubt. I questioned whether I should have left or not. But you just keep pushing through. You follow your true heart. You follow your true feelings inside of you, and you just keep pushing. Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you said there's months where it's like you're making money. There's months that you're not making money. Did the business side of like marketing or, you know, like going on podcast or something, I know this is your second one, but like just social media and how everything is on social media nowadays, like how important is that for your sales?
How important is social media
and like the marketing side of things?
Oh, it's funny to ask that. Is some of my friends don't understand this, but a huge percentage of my sales and my business is social media. If I, you know, I definitely have some business outside of social media. I have some networks. I have some friends. I have some, you know, referrals, all that, of course. But a huge percentage is all social media. It's marketing, your branding. You know, it's so important, and obviously a lot of us know that. But you know, you shut off Instagram for a week or two, and it affects me. It affects a lot of people, right? It's a lot of my business is from social media, right? Now we'll always find a way to kind of work around that and grow your network outside of that, of course. But that's a big part of it.
And I mean, man, like we touched on this at the start of the podcast. Like you just got your art to Steve Aoki now, right? And I'm sure there's like other big people that you've made art for. So what does that feel like? Like, and are there any like moments that stand out particularly? I'm sure Steve Aoki was probably one of them, but
definitely. So it's like I said, it's, you know, I make art for a lot of friends, family, friends of friends, you know, random people I don't know. It's super nice. I love the fact that I can have my art in people's homes, that they have this in their bedroom, in their living room, in their kitchen, wherever, is so cool. It's so rewarding. I love that. Like it's a really cool feeling. But now when you have this celebrity or a big name having your piece in their home, it's super cool. It takes it to the next level of you know, of growth, of who you are and kind of where you want to kind of go. So it's pretty cool. I like it. It helps, you know, it kind of helps you push to the next level as well. It gives you that confidence. Like, for example, Steve Aoki was super, super stoked. He was like, I don't know if you saw the video, but he loved it. And I didn't expect him to love it that much. I was hoping he would like it a lot. I was hoping he would really, you know, appreciate it, of course. But the fact that he reacted the way he did was next level. It was so cool. So that to me, you know, it just gives you a lot of confidence, motivates you more to kind of keep growing and kind of gives you that you know, that confidence to know that you are at that level, you are growing, you are evolving, right? So it's pretty cool.
What does that feel like when, you know, like when people say, man, your podcast is great, I'm like on top of the world, it feels 100%. Like the best, right? And when your art, like people like Steve Aoki and like other people, I'm sure I'm looking at the art right now, man, I'm like, this is sick. What does that feel like when people give you that reaction? Honestly,
amazing, obviously, as you would think, right? It's you know, like I said, we go through this life of chasing what we think is that life that we want, right? That 9 to 5, that you know, that job, the car, the house, the cookie cutter lifestyle. We think that's what we want, and don't get me wrong, we all want that. It's still good, you know, it's amazing. But when you finally find that thing that you're supposed to do, that thing that you're good at, that, you know, and people, you see the reaction that people give you, you know, the love, the appreciation, the, you know, the smiles, the laughs, it's amazing. It's so rewarding. It really makes everything worth it. And it makes you realize that this is why I'm doing this and this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
How do you think people find that? Like, you know, some people call it like the calling, or they call it their purpose for life. Do you think it's about like eventually like you're meant to eventually find that purpose, or you have to like externally like search for it?
That's a good one. I mean, not everyone will find the purpose. I believe everyone has a purpose. Everyone has something that they're really supposed to be doing. And it doesn't mean something physical necessarily, but just something that, you know, whether it's their energy that they're passing around, whether it's their lessons, it could be even negative lessons, maybe I won't get into that, but maybe, you know, but I think that we all have a purpose in life, and, you know, we have a reason to pass on our energy and what we're passing on. And so with me, with this art, like I said, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know this is why I'm doing this, and it keeps pushing me more and driving me more to keep growing and to just pass on this positivity, pass on these smiles and this, you know, the reactions that I get from people. Just, it's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a weird question, but why is that so important? Like, you know, the passing on that positivity, where nowadays it's everyone's caught up in their own life, where it's hard to, like, you know, sometimes share or give that external love and like share that love, because you're just caught up in your own little world. Nowadays with social media and like how the world is, why do you think that's so important of spreading?
So that's actually, you almost said it there in a way, and that's just it. Is I think the world's amazing. I think the world's a great place, and there's lots of positivity in it. But as we know, there's so much negativity. There's so much corruption. There's so much, you know, there's a lot of evil. There's a lot of people don't use that word enough almost, but not to get into the bad, but
right.
the world is a crazy place. And I think especially now, especially these last few years, depending what you see and where you sit, it's been a crazy few years, and there's been a lot of hatred towards each other with certain things. Right. There's been a lot of negativity. There's been a lot of, you know, excluding people from certain things. Right. It's been crazy. And so it's so important to give that love back, to show people that you love them, to really help that and spread the love, like we say. It's so important to help spread that love, because love is very contagious. Right. And if we can spread it a little bit more, then they'll, you know, the next people will spread it more, and they'll feel the way I feel. And, you know, honestly, the feelings that I get, the way I feel is so amazing that I want everyone to feel that way. Right. And so I think it's important to keep spreading that love, and it's a personal thing for me, but it's also to make the world a better place. Like 100%. It's cheesy, I know, but it's true. Like, this world is messed up in a way, and not being negative, because I see the positive in the world, of course, but in reality, the world is pretty crazy. Yeah. There's a lot of bad stuff, a lot of negativity. And so that to me is me kind of leaving the world, leaving this room, leaving the people I connect with better than they came, better than they were. Right.
That's amazing, man. Like that's some powerful stuff. And like, people do it in certain ways where, like, you know, they'll do public speeches where, like, people like Martin Luther King, like, they know they share their dreams with the world, and you're doing it through art. So I want to say, like, everyone has their own, like, outlets of what they go. Like, for us, it's the podcast, you know. Where do you take your inspiration from in terms of your art? Like, I see, you know, you have, obviously your father inspired this journey for you, and like, you try to share that message and spread love. But where do you draw your inspiration for most of your art pieces?
It's a good question. So someone asked me that recently as well, and it's no one specific or no specific thing that kind of inspires me. I think it's a little bit of everything and everybody. And maybe not everybody and everything, but a lot of people around you and a lot of things around you inspire me. You know, it's your friends, you know, growth. It's your family's, you know, sometimes it's like, even like I said, the negative, you know, when people pass away, they're you know, a memorial. When I make a memorial piece for somebody, it's so rewarding to be able to make this piece for them, to help them, bring them joy, and help keep that person's spirit alive. So these little things help me grow, help me want to grow more, do more. And yeah, I mean, my goals lately, my vision is so extreme. It never was this extreme. I never actually wrote goals before. I never had a vision board. I never have any of that. And it's all in my head, kind of, right, where I kind of just create these. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. I know what. But I've never had as big of goals and dreams as I do now. My dreams are insane. And I really believe that most of them will happen. Yeah. And you just have to truly believe in yourself, truly believe in your thoughts. You have to convince yourself in these thoughts that they're going to happen, right? And so, yeah, that's to me, that inspires me to see my friends grow, to see my friends from nothing to where they are now, to see, those little things inspire me. Obviously, I see other artists grow as well. Definitely inspires me as well. But I think it's a little bit of everything, a little bit of everyone. You learn from kids. Like I say this to people all the time. You learn from little kids. You learn from old people, of course. You learn from all types of people. And, just when you can take something from everybody and, and learn from everything and have this little bowl, this big bag, this whatever you want to hold it in, and you take a piece from everybody and you learn from them, and they inspire you to grow and become who you are and become who you want to become. It's pretty cool.
Did you always have this mentality of like, or did you develop that over the years?
I definitely was always a positive person.
Yeah.
I didn't have goals like this. I've never had the vision I have now. I never thought I would live to an old age. I never thought I would live past 40 or 50. I joked that I never lived past 35. Just obviously half joking, but just that mentality of, I live life to the fullest. I've had a great life. I'm 39 years old.
Yeah.
I only started doing art 6 or 7 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And, so it's amazing in your early 30s that you can create and change your lifestyle completely in your 30s, right? My life, some of my favorite years are in my late 30s, or these last few years. I'm almost 40, right? It's crazy. So I think it's something that develops. Some people might have it right from a kid, from birth, but for me, like I said, I've always been positive. I've always been driven. I've always been an entrepreneur, starting these little businesses, doing things like that. But I never had the mindset that I do now of knowing that almost absolutely anything is possible. And if you really truly believe it, and like I said, or convince yourself to believe it, and you start repeating it. Like I repeat things out loud. My girlfriend, unfortunately, poor girl, has to listen to me talk out loud, repeat my stories, repeat my thoughts and my goals and everything multiple times a day. And she deals with it. She loves me and she's great. But it's me repeating it out loud and me truly believing it. And I don't say I'm going to have this tomorrow. I'm going to do this tomorrow. But I repeat what I know I want and I know is possible. And eventually those things start happening. And then I think once you start to see those things happen over time, whether it was, you didn't think they were going to happen because you said it a bunch of times, and 6 months, a year, it didn't happen. But then 5 years later, it happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately, but just the power of saying it out loud is amazing.
Power of manifestation.
Yeah.
I always say it's like, everything in life, this quote is from Jay Shetty, but it's like everything in life will happen, just not the way you imagined it.
Yes. Exactly. And
like, I live by that, man. It's like, it's crazy to think like stuff that you never thought you would be doing. It's what you're pursuing now. And it's what makes you happy. Like saying, man, you said that like, you didn't even think you were going to live past like 40, right?
No,
that's touching. Like what, if you don't mind sharing, like, why did you have that thought?
And it wasn't that I had a rough life or anything like that. So it was not that I was living life on the edge and I was going to die nothing like that. It was just more of me joking. But it's funny because when you joke, you actually kind of feel that way in a sense, right? And the positive side to that was that I did live my life to the fullest in a sense where I didn't hold back on a lot. I went on those trips. I did this and I did everything that I felt I wanted to do or could do at the time. Obviously, you can't do everything at the time financially or whatever it is, but I lived a really good, life up until my father passed away. I mean, my life's been even better since, it's funny that you have a certain mindset and way and way of living up until then, and then your father passes away, someone close to you passes away. And it really, like I said, it opens you up. It makes you more vulnerable. It changes, it kind of throws you right down to the ground and makes you have to kind of change the way you think. It, to get back up, to grow from there, you change a lot. And I changed for the better, thankfully, of course. Some people, unfortunately, might not. But I changed for the better because I started to really appreciate different things that I didn't appreciate back in the day. Right. I appreciate life, of course, where again, not that I didn't appreciate it, but I instead of acting or instead of feeling like and thinking I'm going to live till my mid 30s, I realized that we are still living. My father did pass away at an early age, and so life is short. So I did appreciate life differently, and I did, make the best of it. Still I continued to make the best of my life, but I also changed things because I wanted to really live longer. I didn't want to pass away early like my dad did.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was 65, so that's young.
Yeah.
It's not. He's
old.
not 30 or 40,
Right.
but 65 is young.
Yeah.
And so when you see that, it's kind of a check. It kind of checks you a bit to make you realize that I don't want to die at 65.
Yeah.
So what am I going to change now? What am I going to do to make my life different and to really grow past that, right? So it's little things like that.
Yeah, and it's like I always think about that stuff too, man. Like, it's hard for me to comprehend what death is. Like, losing a close one, it just doesn't. I don't know if it's that, if I'm being disrespectful or something like that.
Not at all. No,
it's just me. Like, it doesn't click for some reason, and like, it's death is very serious. Like, it's hard for everyone, and everyone goes through it different ways. But what do you recommend, or like, what step you should follow? I guess is the question. It's like, it's not steps, but like,
No,
how do you deal with something serious like that?
Yeah, so there's no answer to that, really. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no right answer to that. I think what my vision and my mindset from that is that there's always a silver lining to everything negative.
Mm-hmm.
I used to always say, I still say, that I like when negative things happen to me. It sounds crazy, but I like getting screwed over. I like, getting dumped. I like, losing,
Yeah.
getting knocked out, which, is not something that happened lots, but you just kind of, those downs, those kicks, those, when you're down, you have to get back up. And when you get back up is you grow, you change your mindset, you become stronger, you become smarter, you become more confident in yourself. You have to get punched out. You got not punched out actually literally, but you gotta get dropped. You gotta fall to the ground to
Yeah.
get back up and to evolve from there. And so, something like this, death is it's different than losing a competition or getting dumped or getting
Right.
anything like that. But from everything negative that comes a positive. I truly believe that. I think you have to find it. You have to see it. And that's the hard part that lots don't see. Lots don't find that. And so with my dad, I turned a negative into a positive. I turned this really situation, this tragic, out of nowhere situation, and I made something positive out of it. The spread love, making these hats, t-shirts of my dad, brought love to my friends and family and people that knew him. Right. And then like I said, as it started outside of that, as people that didn't know him wanted to support, it just kept his name alive, and so I did something like that not everyone will do or can do. But, I think if you could find that silver lining, find that light in that dark situation, it's super important. It's going to help you a lot. If you can find something, find the good things about that person, talk about that person. Never stop talking about that person.
Yeah.
Keep that spirit, that name alive, and you'll see the change. You'll see it. If you talk about those fun memories and those funny jokes that person used to say and those stories and all that, it'll help you kind of grow out of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I think everyone kind of looks at failure in a negative way now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like failure. It's like you quit. That's it. Your line is drawn from what you can achieve now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's wrong because I think you can learn a lot from failure, right? Like,
I agree.
What are your
100%.
thoughts on that?
So I think a lot of us have heard this and understand this. Hopefully, you need failure.
Yeah.
I truly believe that failure is so important. If you've never failed, if you've never gotten punched in the face, if you've never got knocked down, I use fighting terms, but if you've never got, you will never know what it feels like. You will never know, So when you, like I said, when you fail, you have to learn from that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to learn from the mistake, but then you'll make the mistake again. You'll keep failing. But if you learn from that mistake and you change the way you're thinking, you change and you evolve from there, you'll become stronger, smarter, more confident in yourself, and you'll do it again. Like you'll try again. You'll keep trying. You'll keep growing, And if you failed once and you learned how not to fail again on that one part, on that one thing that you failed on, you shouldn't fail again.
Yeah.
So you might fail on something else again. That's fine. Then you learn how not to do that. Do it again. Do it the right way. And you keep growing from there.
Yeah.
Very important.
You mentioned your vision, and you got very excited about it. Do you mind sharing what the vision is, or do you like to keep it secret? Like,
so it's nothing. I don't have. So I spoke about vision boards and goals and all that. I never used to. I never wrote down goals. I never had a vision board. I never had any of that. But everything's in my head, and there's nothing specific, I guess, that I see or that I have. Like, there's no specific goals exactly. I guess I just see this. It's blurry in a sense, but I know where it is, and I know I can't really write or say what it is or what it what it looks like. It's hard to explain, but I don't like to talk too much about it. It's all in here, and sometimes it doesn't communicate out properly, right? But I just see where I'm gonna be. It's almost, again, it's manifesting in a sense inside of here. You know, the growth, the levels that I'm gonna be at, that I can't wait to kind of reach these levels and hit these goals. And like I said, some of them is houses. I don't have big car goals, but I have like house goals, and I have like growth, you know, in my branding, in my marketing, in what I'm doing, where I'm gonna be, where I'm gonna live, things like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess one of my goals is you know, to live, you know, to obviously have home base here, but to have a few other houses, one in Portugal, one in Argentina, one in Miami, so it's, you know, small goals like that. They're not small, but I think they're realistic goals, right? So, you know, that's some of my goals like that. And just the growth of where I want to take myself and where I want to be in 5, 10, 20, 30 years, things like that. And just the levels that you want to be at. It's hard to explain what I see, but I see it, and it's not far away.
I think the better question would be like, touch on the power of manifestation. You know, like, I think I've had my personal experiences where I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get that, and you believe it. You know what it feels like. You know what it smells like. You know what you're feeling in that moment. 100%. And then when it becomes like a reality, it's a whole different experience.
Agreed.
So did you have any experiences where manifestation was? Definitely.
Like, lots of little things that I can't think of, but I just know it because I remember. I go, okay, wow, I can't believe that just happened. That just happened. So now that's why I really push and really, again, manifest everything that I want, and I just speak it out loud. I say it out loud. I think about it repetitively. Like, my brain jumps around, boom, 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 boom. I bounce off the walls. I joke, but I'm always picturing where I'm going to go. Like this, for example, another goal is a shop. I want another shop. I want a massive shop to have like a couple show cars in there. Obviously a little wood shop with my art and paint, a paint area shop, you know, a woodworking shop to make everything, to create a lounge area like this. Of course, I want a basketball hoop. I want, so much in there, right? And it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's so realistic. It's so close. I almost pulled the trigger a few times, but hesitated just for personal, you know, certain reasons. I hesitated, and I know it's right around the corner. So that's one example of something that's around the corner that I know it's coming. I just don't know when, and it just has to make sense, and financially, and you know, the time of my life and where I'm going to be and the location of it and all that kind of stuff. So it's things like that. But to take it back to one that happened was my studio, my first initial. I've always wanted a shop or a studio or something of my own. And it's always been a dream of mine. And, you know, when I was working at BMW still, I had pictured, again, it was pictured differently what I had envisioned initially. And I wanted to have a meal prep. I wanted to have a shop or a studio or a place that had my meal prep. Because, of course, I want everything under one roof, because if I want to, you know, optimize the costs of everything. So I was going to have my meal prep and like a coffee shop. And then I was going to have maybe a barber shop with my clothing line. Yeah. So it was going to be all under one roof, 2 sides to it. So, you know, I had this dream, this goal, and I pulled the trigger. I put a bid on a building, and I didn't get it. So that was, you know, it didn't happen. But I kept looking at places. I kept looking and wanting to, and that was a year before I left BMW, like I said. Yeah. So I was looking at places already. I was ready to pull the trigger, but I believe that it wasn't the right time. And so it didn't happen. So I stayed there for about a year, left, started my art journey, Prohibition, moved on. And then it kind of happened again. I've always talked about getting a shop or a studio or a gallery or something, and I just didn't know when. And then you talk about it, then it kind of goes away. Then you talk about it, then all that happens, and then finally it happens. Finally, it manifests. It becomes reality.
Yeah.
And it's just almost by accident as well. Like we said, not by accident because I've spoken out loud so many times. Yeah. But when you're not even expecting it, it happens, right? So. And I got to studio and I got to space and, it wasn't what I pictured initially. I kind of thought about just a place where I can paint and do my work and display some pieces, some clothing, stuff like that. And I turned it into a crazy art gallery. It was initially my studio where I was going to work out of, but it evolved into an art gallery where I have events there and I don't even work there. I work here in this shop actually. So it's now I have an art gallery, which is pretty crazy to think about sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
It's awesome.
Did
that light switch go off as soon as you entered? You got the keys. It's like a crazy feeling, and then you see it's like not what you want, but you already start brainstorming ideas of like what you're gonna do in this room.
When I first got the place, I didn't have the vision of what I have now, of what it is now. I initially wanted it to I was just gonna paint the walls, hang some pieces on the walls, have a couple of rooms to work in. And that's just good enough, right? It was awesome. I was excited for that. But as soon as I started painting, as soon as I started, painting some couches, and I started, turning the furniture into artwork as well, and hanging pallets off the walls, and all this kind of stuff, is when I just kept going. And I said, okay, no, I'm going to make this a crazy space. And so I kept going, and I kept, changing each room into its own theme. And it turned into this super cool space that I didn't actually expect to turn it into that space, but it was pretty cool.
Man, from everything you've been through, right? Like the ups, the downs, we're sitting in your garage and it's like beautiful. What does that feel like? Was it all worth it at the end of the day?
Of course, definitely. Yeah. And like I said, I truly believe this is only the beginning of where I'm going to go in this path of what I'm doing now. Again, I dreamed of being in a position like this, to have what I have now, to create what I create now for the people that I'm creating and for. This was a dream, but once you get there, there's always, you keep growing, you keep evolving, you keep changing your dreams and your goals. So, definitely worth it. I'm super grateful to be here, to do what I'm doing, to have all of this around me. Like I walk in here sometimes. Some days it's a mess, and you walk in and you don't think about anything. You just kind of go to work. But then once in a while, you give it a good clean up, put things away, good sweep, good mop, and you come back the next day or the next evening, and the place is shiny and looking good. And I look around and I go, "Wow, this is pretty cool what I created here, right?" And this is just my workshop. Never mind. So same idea with the gallery. With my studio downtown, I same thing. I walk in there when I don't go there for a few months. Sometimes I'm not there at all for months sometimes. And then I have an event there. So I go and I clean it up the day before. And then I come back at night after it's all cleaned, the night of the event. And I look around and I say, wow, like this is incredible. I can't I'm very proud of myself. I joke that I'm probably my biggest fan, and that sounds maybe a certain way, but I think that's, you should be your biggest fan.
Exactly.
I think people don't understand that is, some people might think me saying that I'm my biggest fan, that I'm this or that, but if you're not your biggest fan, you're
not doing it right.
You're not. Yeah. So, I love my work, not everything, of course, but I look at my work at the end when I'm done with it, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That is so cool. Yeah. I love this. And I show my friends and they're like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah. But they might not love it as much. So a lot of them love it. A lot of them like it, but they're not just, their mindset's not the same. They're not going to, but I'm just so proud of myself of what I'm creating. And so it's pretty cool.
What's the next step? What can the listeners and the viewers expect for the future?
I definitely plan to have another shop. Like I said, I want to have an interactive studio where it's, really big shop, big high ceilings. I want to have different depths, different rooms, similar to my studio that I have now. But I want to make it something where I have these really big events, and it's very interactive, where there's lots of art that you can interact and actually do things with. There's going to be a lot of more pieces, a lot bigger pieces, bigger artworks, like some sculptures and things like that. I want to get too into it, but that's kind of one of my biggest vision goals that I kind of see coming soon. But I plan to keep growing, plan to evolve, and yeah, I want to make crazier pieces, bigger pieces, more in depth, more layers, more cutout lights. Just I want to keep wowing everybody and wowing myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I see. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Before we end off, we have a couple more questions for you. So I guess I can just give you like a fast rundown and you can talk about it. So the first question is, did you have any doubters along your journey of telling you that art's not worth going into? As well as the second question is, what's your highest art piece that you sold? And lastly, what was the last one? Top artists that you've worked with.
So doubters, I think there's always going to be doubters around you. I mean, it's just natural. It's the way that it is. Like there's always going to be doubters around you. There's always going to be, there's not always going to be haters, but I think a lot of us, no one likes haters. We don't like haters, but I think, I've only gained a few haters recently.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard at first. At first I didn't like it, but I think once you accept that that's just kind of how it goes, that there's always going to be, as you succeed, with success comes the haters, right?
Right.
And, but luckily I haven't had a lot that I know of, that have been in front of me that I've heard of. I'm sure there were behind the scenes maybe, but I've seen a few kind of come out and reveal themselves in a sense. And at first I was really offended, bothered, but now I just roll with it, and I appreciate them, to be honest with you. I realize that it's just how it goes. 100%. When you're growing and when you're succeeding, there will be those guys, people that are going to hate on you. That's natural. Doubters, of course, same thing. There's going to be people that love you, that care about you, that are going to doubt you, and that's just the way it goes as well. So luckily I didn't have a lot of people who doubted me to my face again as well. No one really said it too much that I can remember, saying that you're not going to do this, is not a good idea. There probably was some family, like my mom and my aunt and stuff like that might say, well, be careful, but more of a worried and wanting the best for you. But I know that behind the scenes, like again, I was saying, I have a good intuition. I feel vibes and energy from people really well. And, you see the way they act. And when you talk about this, when you repeat this, when you talk about these goals and this art and this, I'm going to become I'm an artist and I'm making art and that's all I'm doing. And I'm going to do this. And so you see that a little bit of a doubt coming from them. At the same time, my circle, my friends, my family, the people that are around me, for the most part, know how I am and who I am and how driven, how crazy in a good way that I am. And so I think, whether they doubt me or not, or did doubt me or not, they knew that I was going to do it, and going to be able to do it. So I think there's always that part. The next question was,
if you don't mind saying how much, or what was the most amount of money you've sold your art for?
So it's kind of funny. I started off my first piece. I'm going to rewind it back for a second. My first piece that I made for myself. I made a cool piece, and I had someone offer to buy it off me, and I didn't know how much to tell them because I've never sold a piece of art before. Actually, it's not true. I sold two little pieces at the time, two stencil style pieces. I sold one for $100. I gave one as a gift actually to Life of Kai to Kyle, actually, and I gave one as a gift to him, and then he actually wanted to buy one for Jackson. And so he asked me how much, and I had no idea what to say. I had no idea what this was worth or what they go for. And so I sold it for $100, and I thought that was a lot for what I made. And he's like, "That's awesome." He was super happy to pay $100. So it went from $100. My second real piece that I sold, I had a friend of mine say, "You should sell it for $500 or $600 or $450."
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was around that. And I was like, "I don't know. That's really high. Like, I don't think I can get that much." He's like, "What are you talking about?" "Sure, you can."
Yeah.
And so I ended up selling it for, I think, $450 or $550. And to me, that was a lot at the time. I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing." From there, they jumped up to $1,000, and from there they grew over them. But the biggest piece I got was recently about a year ago or so. And it was 25,000 plus the small piece beside. So I did 2 pieces together. I gave him a deal, but it was 25,000 for the 1 piece, which to me was amazing. And I sold another piece to him for 5, and then he actually ended up buying a lot more pieces off me. He's a really good customer of mine. And but it was really cool to go from $500 on average to $25,000.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. So I don't tell a lot of people that.
We're special boys.
I guess now everyone knows now, but I don't like bragging about it.
Right.
But it's pretty cool because of course I don't sell all pieces for that. I haven't sold, many pieces for too much for close to that. But I think it's so cool to know what you're capable of.
Right.
Again, anything is possible, right? I believe I can sell pieces for a lot more in the future. But again, it's just working your way up there, right? So once you see that your pot, once you see it's capable of selling it for a high amount like that, then you start keeping going and driving, and
Yeah, and I think the other question was, are there any like favorite art pieces or anyone like you created a piece for that really stands out for you?
Mm-hmm. So this Steve Aoki piece I made of his dad, Rocky Aoki, was really cool. Really enjoyed making that. It was, again, it touched base with me, touched home for me because it was a personal piece of his dad that was his hero. So that's, for me, it really resonated with me. So that was a really cool piece, and people loved it. It was really cool how I stick out the edges, and I put broken glass on it with diamond dust. And so I always try to have levels, different dimensions, different level, like I said, levels and pieces to it, moving objects if I can. My other one I did recently was a mural for a home, and it has a custom neon light made out of glass attached to the front of it. So I did this big 10-foot by 10-foot mural, resined with a pink. One was white and one was pink neon light on top of it.
Yeah, I think I saw it.
So
on
that
Instagram.
one's really cool. Yeah, like I really like doing things like that, where it has depth to it, attach different pieces to it. Light. I use a lot of neon lights and stuff. So that's a really cool piece. I do a lot of broken glass pieces now, like that one over there. Again, neon light, broken glass, different depth. I have that one at the basketball there too as well. I like using objects. I do my typical style pieces like this with the resin finish, but I like using more different media as well, right? Like I said, broken glass, the basketball, the neon lights, things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. And lastly, I always like to end off. Is there any advice you can give to the listeners out there that are trying to pursue their dreams? Any advice you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what we just talked about here is pretty much my advice. Is it's pretty simple. And it's manifestation is what we're talking about here. It's incredible. It's unbelievable what you can achieve, what you can do. Like I really believe it. Anything is possible. If you really believe and you dream bigger and you realize that there is no ceiling, that everything is possible. You just have to really say them out loud. You have to repeat them. You have to, again, convince yourself whether you believe them or not. Sometimes you don't. Oh, I don't know if I can do that. There's doubt. Of course, there's doubt. But you have to trick yourself almost. You have to lie to yourself almost. And you're not lying to yourself, but you have to, because part of you doesn't believe that it's true or that it will happen. You have to lie to that part of it.
Yeah.
And convince yourself that it will happen. And honestly, that's the biggest thing I have, is just to really follow your heart, follow your gut. Your soul inside of you is what's giving you all these feelings. And if you follow these things, if you follow those little urges, sometimes they're really small urges and sometimes they're massive urges. And obviously if they're massive urges, you need to follow them, right?
Yeah.
But all these little urges is your body, is your soul speaking to you. And so you have to follow them. You have to just give it a chance and chase them.
Chase your dreams.
Yep.
All right. I think on that note, this is a perfect way to end off the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check out Pedro. We'll tag everything in the description below. Maybe go grab some art, hit him up. And until next time, we're on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that. And if you like this, man, subscribe. Help us out. Till next time. Peace. All righty.